Donald Virgil Don Bluth is an American animator, film director, producer, writer, production designer, video game designer and independent studio owner who is known for his departure from the Walt Disney Company in 1979 and his subsequent directing of animated films such as The Secret of NIMH, An American Tale, The Land Before Time, All Dogs Go to Heaven, and Anastasia, and his involvement in the laserdisc game Dragon's Lair. He is also known for competing with Disney during the years leading up to the films that would make up the Disney Renaissance. He is the older sibling of illustrator Toby Bluth. Early life and the Disney years. Bluth was born in El Paso, Texas, the son of Emmeline and Virgil Bluth. His great-grandfather was Helaman Pratt, an early leader in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. He is of English, Scottish and German descent. As a child in El Paso he rode his horse to the town movie theater to watch Disney films. Bluth said later, "Then I'd go home and copy every Disney comic book I could find." At the age of 6 his family moved to Payson, Utah where he lived on a family farm. In 1954 at the age of 17 his family moved to Santa Monica, California, where he attended part of his final year of high school before returning to Utah and graduating from Springville High School. Bluth attended Brigham Young University in Utah for 1 year and after got a job at the Walt Disney Company. He started in 1955 as an assistant to John Lounsbury for Sleeping Beauty. In 1957 Bluth left Disney only 2 years after being hired. Afterwards Bluth spent 2.5 years in Argentina on a mission for the LDS Church. He returned to the United States where he opened the Bluth Brothers Theater with his younger brother Fred, though he occasionally worked for Disney. Bluth returned to college and got a degree in English literature from Brigham Young. Bluth returned to the animation business and joined Filmation in 1967 working on layouts for the Archies and other projects. He returned full-time to Disney in 1971 where he worked on Robin Hood, Winnie the Pooh and Tigger 2, The Rescuers and directing animation on Pete's Dragon. His last involvement with Disney was the 1978 short The Small One. Then he made and produced his first short, Banjo the Woodpile Cat, which takes place in his hometown Payson, Utah during the 1940s as Banjo travels to Salt Lake City to find the urban world. Independent years, early critical success. On his 42nd birthday in 1979, Bluth, with Gary Goldman, John Pomeroy, and 9 fellow Disney animators, set out to start his own animation studio, Don Bluth Productions. He drew a few scenes for The Fox and the Hound but left early in production. Bluth was disheartened with the way the Disney Company was run. He wanted to revive the classical animation style of the studio's early classics. To this end, his studio, Don Bluth Productions, demonstrated its ability in its first production, a short film titled Banjo the Woodpile Cat, and this led to work on an animated segment of the live-action film Xonad. The studio's first feature-length film was The Secret of NIMH, an adaptation of Mrs. Frisby and the Rats of NIMH, the 1972 Newbery Medal winner. Bluth employed 160 animators during the production and agreed to the first profit-sharing contract in the animation industry. Though a moderate success in the box office, the movie received critical acclaim. Later, with the home video release and cable showings, it became a cult classic. Nevertheless, due to its modest result in the box office, and an industry-wide animation strike, the Don Bluth Productions filed for bankruptcy. His next film would have been an animated version of the Norwegian folk tale East of the Sun and West of the Moon, but was never made when the financial resources were drawn back. In 1983, teaming with Rick Dyer, from Advanced Microcomputer Systems, Bluth, Goldman and Pomeroy started the Bluth Group and created the groundbreaking arcade game Dragon's Lair, which let the player control a cartoon animated character on screen. This was followed in 1984 by Space Ace, a science fiction game based on the same technology, but which gave the player a choice of different routes to take through the story. Bluth not only created the animation for Space Ace, but he also supplied the voice of the villain, Borf. Work on a Dragon's Lair sequel was underway when the video arcade business crashed. Bluth Studio was left without a source of income and the Bluth Group filed for bankruptcy on March 1, 1985. A sequel called Dragon's Lair 2, Time Warp was made in 1991, but it was rarely seen in arcades. In 1985 Bluth, Pomeroy and Goldman established, with businessman Morris Sullivan, the Sullivan-Bluth Studios. It initially operated from an animation facility in Van Nuys, California, but later moved to Dublin, Ireland to take advantage of government investment and incentives. Bluth and his colleagues taught an animation course at Ballyfermot Senior College. Affiliation with Steven Spielberg, teaming up with producer Steven Spielberg, Bluth's next project was An American Tail, which at the time of its release became the highest-grossing non-Disney animated film of all time, grossing $45 million in the United States and over $84 million worldwide. The second Spielberg-Bluth collaboration, The Land Before Time, did even better in theaters and both found a successful life in home video. The main character in An American Tail became the mascot for Amblimation, while The Land Before Time was followed by 12 direct-to-video sequels. Bluth broke with Spielberg before his next film, All Dogs Go to Heaven. Although All Dogs Go to Heaven had moderate theatrical success, it was highly successful in its release to home video. Like The Land Before Time, The Secret of NIMH and An American Tail, All Dogs Go to Heaven was followed by a theatrical sequel, a television series, and a Christmas Carol adaptation, none of which Bluth and his studio had involvement with. Through the 1990s, Bluth films such as Rock-a-Doodle, Thumbelina, A Troll in Central Park, and The Pebble and the Penguin were critical and box office failures. Work at Fox Animation Studios, Bluth scored a hit with Anastasia, produced at Fox Animation Studios in Phoenix, Arizona, which grossed nearly $140 million worldwide and gained favorable critical reviews. In his positive review of the movie, critic Roger Ebert observed that its creators consciously include the three key ingredients in the big Disney hits: action, romance and music. Anastasia's success established 20th Century Fox as a Disney competitor. Despite the success of Anastasia, Bluth resumed his string of box office disappointments with the futuristic space adventure Titan A. The movie made less than $37 million worldwide despite an estimated $75 million budget. In 2000, 20th Century Fox Studios shut down the Fox Animation Studio facility in Phoenix, making Titan A.E. the last traditionally animated film released by 20th Century Fox in theaters until the release of 2007's The Simpsons movie. Recent work: in 2002, Bluth and video game company Ubisoft developed the video game Dragon's Lair 3D, Return to the Lair, an attempt to recreate the feel of the original Dragon's Lair laserdisc game in a more interactive, three-dimensional environment. Reviews were mixed, with critics both praising and panning the controls and storyline. However, the visuals were noteworthy, using groundbreaking cel shading techniques that lent the game a hand-animated feel. As of 2012, Don Bluth and Gary Goldman are seeking funding for a film version of Dragon's Lair. Bluth and Goldman continued to work in video games and were hired to create the in-game cinematics for Namco's I, Ninja, released in 2003. In 2004, Bluth did the animation for the music video Mary, by the Scissor Sisters. The band contacted Bluth after having recalled fond memories of the sequence from Xonad. In 2009, Bluth was asked to produce storyboards for, and to direct, the 30-minute Saudi Arabian festival film Gift of the Hooper. He ultimately had little say in the animation and content of the film, and asked that he not be credited as the director or producer. Nonetheless, he was credited as the director, possibly to improve the film's sales by attaching his name. On February 3, 2011, it was announced that Bluth and his game development company Square One Studios were working with Warner Bros. Digital Distribution to develop a modern reinterpretation of the 1983 arcade classic Tapper, titled Tapper World Tour. On March 22, 2011, Anastasia was released to Blu-ray disc. The high charting release and an increase in sales for other Bluth-directed titles has sparked interest for a return to his as yet unconfirmed 12th directorial feature. As an author, Bluth has authored a series of books for students of animation, 2004's The Art of Storyboard, and 2005's The Art of Animation Drawing. Additional books are planned. As an educator, in early 2009, Bluth launched his website, donbluethanimation.com, in which he focuses on animation education through video tutorials, short films and live video seminars. As a theater director, Bluth currently runs an adult and youth theater in Arizona, called Don Bluth Front Row Theater. The theater group was unique and unusual as productions were presented in the living room of Bluth's Scottsdale, Arizona home. They now run in a small theater off Shear Boulevard in Scottsdale. Filmography: Director, The Small One, Banjo the Woodpile Cat, The Secret of NIMH, Dragon's Lair, Space Ace, An American Tale, The Land Before Time, All Dogs Go to Heaven, Dragon's Lair 2, Time Warp, Rock-a-Doodle, Thumbelina A Troll in Central Park, The Pebble and the Penguin, Anastasia, Bartok the Magnificent, Titan AE, Other Roles, Sleeping Beauty, The Sword in the Stone, Fantastic Voyage, Archie's and His New Pals, All the Real Jerry Lewis Please Sit Down, Sabrina and the Groovy Julies, Robin Hood, Journey Back to Oz, Winnie the Pooh and Tigger 2, The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, The Rescuers, Pete's Dragon, Xonad, The Fox and the Hound, Dragon's Lair, Space Ace, The Fantastic World of Hanna-Barbera, Mary by the Scissor Sisters, Dragon's Lair 3D, Return to the Lair, Tapper World Tour. Frequent collaborations: there have been multiple voice actors who have appeared in more than one of the films directed by Bluth. See also: Sullivan Bluth Studios, Fox Animation Studios, Amblimation, John Pomeroy, Gary Goldman, Toby Bluth. References. Further reading: John Cawley, The Animated Films of Don Bluth, 1991, Image Publishing, ISBN 0-685-50334-8, John Grant, Masters of Animation, 2001, Watson Guptill Publications, ISBN 0-8230-3041-5, External links, Official site, Don Bluth's channel on YouTube, Don Bluth at the Internet Movie Database, the .ethers entry on Bluth and the development of Dragon's Lair, Remembering NIMH, an interview with Don Bluth Studios about the making of The Secret of NIMH, Don Bluth and Gary Goldman, long-running fun-in interview with Don Bluth and Gary Goldman, Don Bluth interview Part 1 and Part 2 about his influences and the making of Dragon's Lair, Don Bluth biography at Kataroo.com.